All right, you're back for more? Couldn't get enough of me? Well, here we go. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and that is marketing. How do you market yourself compliantly, and how do you take your business to the next level? It all has to do with the science and art of marketing. Let's talk about that. When I first started in this business, I didn't have a lead, just like every other agent. I started at zero, and my very first sale came from a referral from another agent that said, hey, I've got a lead for you. Head on out. You're going to drive 45 minutes to this lady's house in the middle of nowhere, and you're going to offer her this product. So I didn't have anybody I was shadowing. I was kind of thrown to the wolves. I would say that I've seen presentations. I've been around the presentations, but I never went on my own for my first presentation. Obviously, to keep you from the suspense, I did make that sale on my very first enrollment, and I said, man, I can do this all day, every day. I was so excited. But really what that came of is immediately after I said, how do I get more leads? I can't rely on just getting leads from one source. So I did go to school for marketing, go UCF. And one of the things that I learned there was how to market products and services. I never learned how to market people, so I was really intrigued on that. And so when I got out of college, I took an internship where I actually marketed physicians. And this really kept me intrigued and engaged because it was my job to go out and sell these physicians. So what I learned from this practice is it's a very different skill set to sell a person than it is a product or service. But that really helped me learn how to get out there and market myself. I have a saying that I often mention to agents that ask me about marketing, and that is, I don't know one way to make 100 sales, but I know 100 ways to make one. Now, if you're an agent starting off, you're probably wondering, what the heck is he talking about? Well, the idea is about lead diversification. Are you diversifying your lead sources? Do you have multiple streams or channels that you can get your leads from in case one of those dries up or it doesn't work out the way that you thought it would? So think about that when you're building your book of business and you're building your marketing plan. You want to have multiple sources of leads, just like you would like to have multiple sources of income. One of the things that I did for myself early on is I created a marketing calendar for myself. What I did is I laid out all the marketing things that I like doing and what worked for me, and then I would place them on the calendar for exactly when I would go do those activities. For example, every month, I would send out a thank you card to all of the people I enrolled the previous month. If you don't have a system that automatically does that, I highly recommend checking out our agency. We can leave the link below in the comments. But if you're not doing those things, you could essentially miss out on some massive referral opportunities that would really help level up your game. So thank you cards was the first thing out. Then if I had any leads that didn't quite close the month before, I would sit on the phone and call those leads until they buy or they die, is what I like to say. Continue to keep them on your marketing list. Essentially, I had two lists that I would manage, and it's this simple. You have a list of prospects and you have a list of clients. If one of your clients disenrolls, they go back on your prospecting list. If your prospects enrolls, they go right into your client lists. It's really that simple. Now, we've seen agents that have complicated that or make it more difficult or more niche, and that's okay. But essentially, you don't need to get that detailed with it. It's really as simple as keeping two spreadsheets so you know who's who and how you're attacking that group of people. Other activities that I would put on the calendar are events. I would host birthday parties. I would do tabletops. I would do client appreciation events. I would do health fairs. There's lots of things out there that I would do, and I would put them on my calendar. Number one, so I wouldn't double book myself, but I would have enough time to set them up, get them filed, and get them all organized in order for me to have a successful event. The most important thing in all of this is consistency. Consistency, consistency, consistency. It's really hard to do marketing and understand what your return on investment is if you're not tracking it and you're not giving it enough time to air out so you can see what's working and what's not working. I have seen lots of agents do a marketing shotgun approach where they might do a mailer and say that didn't work, or they might do a Facebook ad and say that didn't work, or they do an event and they say that didn't work. Well, we're really not giving it enough time to really grow on its own and give you any type of ROI. It's important that any marketing campaign that you're about to go into, that you give it enough time. I recommend personally doing no less than 6 months to see how it really works. Other people would say 90 days. Some people would even say a year. In fact, some marketing companies have said, hey, we won't even do the marketing with you or for you unless you have a year agreement. That's because it takes that much time to really dial in your marketing and see what's working and what's not working. So it's important that you keep your marketing on a diet. One of the people I really admire in marketing is Dan Kennedy. He is a copywriter and a well-known marketer, and he says you should put your business on a strict diet. So what does that mean to you? Can you invest $500 a month, $1,000 a month, $10,000 a month? Wherever you are in your journey and where you want to go, do you have the ability to put your business on a marketing diet? And just to give you an example, McDonald's is known for this, but they spend over 50% of their profits back into marketing. That's incredible because that's millions and millions of dollars that they spend investing back into their business to keep their customers coming back for more and more and more. There's lots of different ways to do marketing in this business. One of the ways that I cut my teeth was on mailings. And I found sales letters, the good old-fashioned 1-page to 2-page sales letter, and mailing that out to a list of people really worked for me initially. And in the world that we live in now with digital marketing, it may even stand out even more because there's not a lot of people doing the old school marketing, and it will get received, it will get opened, and it will get read. And that's the whole point of your marketing campaign is you want to make sure that you're reaching those eyeballs and they are reading this stuff. If they're not reading it, you're not reaching them. Now with mailers specifically, or with any marketing, you really have to know the fundamentals. The first thing is, have you dialed in who you're actually trying to target? Now, if you're in the Medicare business, you're saying, well, that's easy, Justin. Anyone that's about to turn 65 or is over the age of 65. Well, that's millions and millions of people across the US. So maybe narrow that down a bit. Is it just a certain zip code? Is it people that range from 64 to 73? It could be a lot of different things, but you want to make sure that you narrow down that scope, and less is more. And the reason why is when you're building your list of people, if you have, let's say, 10,000 people that you want to market to in your area, you may be able to afford a mailer one time. Let's say each sales letter costs you $1.50. That's going to be a $15,000 mailer. Can you do that month over month over month? The answer is no. Then slim down that list to the most precise and sexy group of people that you can mail this thing to and hit them over and over and over again. So, for example, it's way better to mail a group of 1,000 people 10 different times than it is to mail 10,000 people one time, because people on average need to see your message, your face, your advertisement 7 to 10 times in the way that things are working right now. So it's way better to do quality over quantity in this situation. Another point that I'd make on mailers is the copy. You really need to dial that in. I personally study Dan Kennedy. There's some great tools that you can use to get your messaging out there. We live in the world of AI that can definitely help you with some copy, but you want to dial in your message to that precise group of people. So for example, if you know somebody's turning 65, for example, you are going to have messaging that alludes to, hey, you're about to get into the Medicare system. Do you know somebody that can help you? So on and so forth. So So dialing in your message is really important. Don't talk about you and what you can do. Talk about them and their problems and what they're about to face, and then come in as the guide to help them through their journey. What is it that you can offer them in the pain points that they're about to experience or are experiencing right now to save them from this frustration? That's really where your value is, and you really need to hone that in. I can talk all day about mailers, but I'm going to move on to some other things such as events. Community exposure is huge. People should know who you are in your own community. Believe it or not, there are probably prospects right in your backyard. You might even have a neighbor that fits your profile as far as who you're marketing to. If you know somebody that's in your demographic, in that list, essentially, then why don't you interview them? Why don't you see, where do they go? Where do they pray? Where do they play? Where do they eat? Where do they sleep? These are all questions you want to ask your prospects and figure out exactly where are they going and what experiences are they having so you can get in front of that traffic. The way the traditional sales model works, you got to have traffic to get prospects. You got to have prospects to get leads. You have to have leads to get appointments. You have to have appointments to get sales. That's how it works. And it's always worked that way. You essentially really have to make sure that you're finding those quality places, that you're getting in front of quality people. I was talking to an agent one time and they were telling me a story about how they needed to get to this health fair where there was going to be 50,000 people there. Well, this particular person was targeting a very niche product, and it didn't seem like many people in that age range and that niche that he was going after were really going to be at that event. Although there was a lot of traffic, it doesn't necessarily indicate serious success. So pay attention to that. But essentially, some of the things that you can do in your community is you can hop on board some of the events that are already happening in your community. There are health fairs, there are community events, there's block parties. There's lots of opportunities that you can hook into on that train and ensure that you're getting in front of those folks by simply buying a booth or setting up a table at that event. It's a lot easier for you to hook yourself into an event where you only have to pay a booth fee, show up, set up your table, and the traffic is already baked in. Now, some other things that you can do for your events is you can set up your own events. You can set up your own tabletops where there is traffic. So one of the most prominent places that some of our agents have had success with traffic is pharmacies. We have agents that are inside Walmarts. We have agents that are in large buildings with lots of traffic. I know in New York City, you can simply set up a table on pretty much any corner inside Manhattan, and you're probably going to get hit with a couple hundred, if not thousands of people that fit your demographic on a daily basis or a weekly basis. So where's the density of that population? Where are they going? And you really need to be a sniper when it comes to your events in the community and how you're getting out there, because there are so many places you can go and you can seriously waste your time if you're in front of the wrong people. Really pay attention to the value that you're going to bring to that organization for them allowing you to sit in front of their folks and deliver what you have to help the community. Probably my most successful lead source was doctors. I made great relationships with physicians over the years, and it's really all about a long-term relationship that you have with these offices. But I'll share a few tips and tricks on how I was able to get into doctors' offices and not just become an agent, but a partner for growth in their organization. So this is my $1 million pitch here that I'm going to share with you. But once I approached the front desk, I would ask to speak with either the office manager, the owner, or the doctor. Not all the time the doctor owns the practice, so be aware of that. You want to ask for the owner or even the office manager. And also look out for everybody in that office. You don't want to just jump over the desk towards the office manager, because sometimes I found that the receptionist or even the janitor is somebody that has influence over the clients there and can tell them who they need to work with. So I would honestly say treat everyone with respect. Everyone in that office could be a lead source for you, so don't discount it. So my $1 million pitch, once I got in front of the doctor, the owner, or the office manager, I would simply say, how would you like to make more money with less patients? That always is going to get their attention, but you better be able to have a conversation about that. I'm going to save that for another video, but it's really important that you use that for good and not evil. In my journey, I've probably helped 200 to 300 people find a plan just from coming through their doctors. How does this happen? Well, there's been situations where carriers go out of business. There's been situations where the doctor cancels the carrier, or even the carrier cancels that doctor and says, we don't want them in our network anymore. There's so many different ways that can happen. I've been able to change people, in a month from plan to plan because they had special enrollment periods. And back in the day when I sold, there wasn't a lot of special enrollment periods, so we had to get creative with it. But there are definitely ways that you can get people to move anytime during the year, especially if their doctor is no longer in network. So there's ways around that. In a given season, if you hook in with the right doctors, you could change 200 people to 300 people over a 2 to 5 year period if you're really paying attention and putting in the work with the doctor's offices. There's a whole art form on doctors that I'm not going to cover today, but doctors can be a huge asset for you and your lead sources if you're a health insurance agent. I want to talk about web leads because this always seems to be a point of contention. There's so many different vendors out there that will sell you leads, and there's different flavors of leads, but essentially it's somebody clicking an ad or filling out a form and saying, hey, I'm really interested to talk to an insurance agent, have them call me or contact me. And that's where things get really dicey. So it's super easy to fill out a form online. It's super easy to click, yes, I want an agent to call me. It's not so easy to get that person on the phone. So when it comes to flavors of leads, there are recycled leads, meaning that these people have been worked before. There are shared leads, which means that somebody filled out a form. That form came back to the web vendor, and then they distributed it to whoever wanted to pay for it as many times as possible. There's exclusive leads, meaning like, hey, this person filled out a form and I'm only sending it to you because you paid a premium for it. So there's different flavors when it comes to leads. My personal favorite is obviously exclusive. I really don't want another agent calling and confusing that person if I have to vie for their business. Another thing is what we call the junk leads, where maybe they've been recycled 2, 3, 4, 5 times. A lot of agents give up and then they stop calling them. If the person has indicated that they wanted health insurance, obviously respect their wishes, but how are you attacking it? Are you picking up the phone? Are you sending a text message instead? Do you have their email? Can you do a 1, 2, 3 punch? Do you have their mailing address? There are services out there that you can actually enrich client data by going and saying, hey, look, I bought a phone number, a name, and even an address, but I need the email address. And so there's services out there, web brokers, that can enrich it by saying, hey, we have the information you gave us, plus we were able to find their email address and we attached it there. So they can also give you more information, for instance, how much money they make per year, how many times they've moved, if they have kids. Unfortunately, privacy is dead, but as a marketer, that is good news for you. That is one way that you can absolutely take advantage of web brokers and web leads. There are a lot of agents that say web leads don't work, and I get it. It is a point of contention again. Working at Health Plan Markets, we've never really pushed leads. We've always taught agents how to fish versus buying the fish because certain vendors go out of business, the rules change. You might get a lead on a Wednesday instead of a Thursday. There's all different scenarios that can happen that, we're not going to make everybody happy. So I prefer not to buy leads, but they're out there. One thing you could do is if you're savvy enough, you can build your own web campaign. And that looks very simply something along the lines of a Facebook ad to a form that's a notification to you, and you're simply calling them. It's a little bit more expensive to get it set up. It's more expensive to run these ads on your own, but you may have a higher return on investment. We do see agents take this on. Some of them buy Google ads on their own. Some of them set up different websites and what we call squeeze pages, and then market online on social media. There's lots of different ways to do that. I'm not going to cover all of that in this video, but you can definitely get creative if you're looking to create your own web leads. One of my favorite ways to capture leads is to make friends. Yeah, I make friends with other agents, and other agents look like other agents that are exactly in your business. They're running across the same people. They have the same prospects. And maybe it's a captive agent at a carrier that can't sell all the products. Or maybe it's an independent agent that doesn't sell in a certain area, but they do business over there. There's really a lot of different scenarios. So make friends with agents. I can't tell you how many times just being friendly and sharing business has really, for me, become a multiplier in my income. So we've had situations where a certain doctor drops a health plan and this agent doesn't have another option that I might have. And they say, hey, look, I've got a doctor. I'm going to switch these people. You switch these people. And we were able to come in on trust and work towards that to ensure that we're really making a difference for that physician, but mostly helping people find the right health plan. And yeah, got some sales out of it. Also of note is if you cross over to different lines of business, so for instance, property and casualty and different things like that. So maybe you don't do life insurance and you do Medicare, or are there securities guys or financial advisors that don't want to get into ACA business? There is so much crossover that you can work with. So look up networks, bump into agents, and don't be afraid to say hi because they could be your next lead source. Another way to really focus on your marketing is discovering niches. One of my favorite niches that I've seen recently is working with veterans. Now, we have a few veterans at Health Plan Markets, and as agents, they're able to kind of cross over to both worlds. They have done military service, and now they're in the community as a health insurance agent helping people. So being able to talk the lingo and being able to be in both cultures makes you unique. So if you're a veteran, just as an example, you can approach VFWs, you can approach different groups and talk that talk with them, and then also know how to navigate both systems. What we've seen in the military is military have benefits like TRICARE or CHAMP VA or standard VA benefits, and they don't always sync and match well with Medicare, Medicare Advantage, or what happens with ACA with the spouse. So being able to navigate that world can definitely help you be unique in the market, and you can capture all of their veteran friends wherever they go, and you're able to have that conversation where other agents might not be able to have that interaction. So think about your niche, other niches. Are you a musician? Are you a scuba diver? Are you a pickleball player? Where do you find interest? What's your background? What do you do differently that most agents don't do? And try to fit into that niche where it really makes sense for you to connect with that group. Plus, it's a lot of fun. I mean, if you're a musician and you play music, it's easy to talk to people, right? So that's one example of something that you can do. My last big tip here is never forget about client referrals. Clients are the most important referral source, in my opinion, that an agent can ever have. There's nothing like saying, hey, I just signed up with a health plan. You really need to talk to this guy. They know what they're doing over there. Give them a call. When that phone call comes into you, it's an easy sale. So client referrals, number one, how are you treating your clients? Are you reminding them that you're out there? Are you even asking for referrals? I mean, it sounds kind of silly, but every interaction that you have with a client is an opportunity for you to ask for more referrals. Even if you got one from them recently, keep asking. I've had clients send me 3, 4, 5 people just because I asked every time that they called me. It could look like, hey, I have a problem with my doctor. Okay, we get that solved. All right, now, Mr. Jones, do you have anybody else that you think I can help? What about your neighbor down the street that you mentioned? Be engaged with your clients. Be engaging with your clients, and it will make it very easy for them to send referrals over to you as easy as possible. So with that said, those are some of the best lead sources that I have to offer. Again, we can go into a multitude of detail, but these are just some ideas that I'm hoping really get those brain juices going for you so you can go out there and crush it. Well, this concludes this episode. I really want to thank you again for listening all the way through. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It's the only thing that I ask for, just so you get notified when these new episodes come in. We would really love to continue to share content. If you have ideas, please reach out to me. I would love to hear what you've got. And I want to dive deep with you so that way I can help you be the best agent you possibly can. With that, I'm Justin Jacobs. This is Closed. You have a nice day.